All right, here is your sports betting podcast, the Tailgate Party for Tuesday, February the 9th, the year of our Lord, 2021, Anno Domini. You know what? I'm going to throw you off a little bit. I'm going to go to our free pick right away in the NBA. It is to go with Orlando and Portland to go under the 220. Not that I understand why, people seem to love the free pick more than anything else, but then again, for the super sharps and whatnot, we'll have other great information coming up. Many of our systems involve exploiting counterintuitive point spreads or totals. Now, sundry massive syndicates and whales, they've got similar betting formulas and a half-point difference in the parameters that we enter our computer systems, not to mention slight variances in the sportsbook quote-unquote current line can be a difference between when a system is triggered and it is not. And there can be variances. Like I said, maybe their system is triggered and our similar one with similar but not completely exact same parameters might not be triggered, or vice versa. Anyway, so thus, just as a result of the way these dynamics work, every now and then a whale syndicate could wind up essentially steaming into our parameters and turning something that's not quite a system into a system. If you follow what I'm saying, if you don't, it's kind of okay, because that's why you pay me the big bucks to follow this type of stuff. Anyway, this is the case here, and chasing steam does conflict with our power ratings and other metrics, so this bet falls just short of being a premium bet, but more than still strong enough to release as a free one. Total that's based on recent form, and the current total goes under at 1637, 1120, and 74. So again, Orlando and Portland to go under the total is our free bet. But, all right, I should have adjusted my page there before I switched. I should have put my offshoreinsiders.com at home. Well, at least I checked the microphones right now. Let's go to it again. We're hot. Joe Duffy's picks, everyone's hot. And there is a reasonable explanation, in part due to the fact that normalcy's kind of returning, and with the proliferation of the legal sports books, I'm just telling you, the gap between the sharp and square, because of the adjustments that have to be made, it's the biggest dichotomy between the sharp and square that I've seen since really the early 90s. And that's why all the legit handicappers are on fire. And in fact, we do have a lot of people. I know you had packages that expired on Super Bowl Sunday, and especially if you used an inferior site, you're definitely looking to begin the rest of your gambling life. So we got a great special where you're going to get a bunch of free plays on a 100-day pass, no matter which handicapper you get. It's at offshoreinsiders.com. All right, why don't we now go to your biggest public moves, contrarian stuff. When it comes to NBA totals, not a lot, really. In terms of percentage of bets, which is the number one criterion for the contrarian bettor, Portland is really the strongest. It's 63%. But again, if you're a contrarian player, that means you would fade that and go with Orlando. Now, as far as money's concerned, a little bit more there. The 98% of the bets are on the New Orleans Pelicans. 88% is on Golden State. And that's really about it as far as NBA is concerned. Now, how about college basketball? As usual, an added rotation game. Florida A&M, 82% of the bets. James Madison was 70. Now, New Mexico, significant here. 64% of the bets are on them. They're an underdog. And I'm moderately surprised, although kind of the sharp money is that, look, New Mexico, I don't know if you know their situation, but New Mexico has had all kinds of issues with COVID, and some players have opted out. And there's even been some talk about New Mexico just postponing the rest of the season. But remember one of our golden rules, that players tend to rally around adversity. So I although it's not a premium play, I agree with what the sharps are thinking. New Mexico, I think, would be undervalued here. And the sharps, it looks like, are really betting for New Mexico to rally around that adversity. Although I'm surprised that Joey Bag of Donuts is going with that theory. That kind of makes me nervous. So maybe I'm glad it's not a premium play. But that's the reasoning there why such a big underdog is a public bet. And another underdog that's surprisingly a little bit of a public bet, South Alabama with 62% of the wagers on them, despite being an underdog, and then followed by St. John's, 61%, then Georgetown at 60%. I'll go so far as to say this is a crazy day where the public really likes the underdog on quite a few cases, and that would make me nervous because the old saying, public underdogs die, or I think VSiN likes to say, fade the chic underdog or something like that. And these are true. These are true. But there's more public plays on underdogs today than you'll almost ever see. Now, as far as the public money, 93% is on Kansas State, 88% on NC Central. Now, some people would say NC Central definitely becomes a sharp play when the money says one side and the number of bets say the other side. A lot of people say ride the money. Based on that theory, NC Central would be a very sharp bet, and 80% on St. John's. Now the biggest line moves of the day, and let me just get this thing out of the way. There we go. The biggest line moves of the day in the NBA. San Antonio opened up as a 1.5-point favorite to Golden State. They're now a 1-point underdog. Brooklyn opened up at opened up as an 8.5-point favorite to Detroit. They're now only 6.5. College basketball, well, we talked about it. NC Central opened up as a pick. They're now minus 2.5, and that's really it there. Yesterday we told you about the biggest NBA teams to bet on in terms of ATS margin, and how it kind of demonstrated there was regression of the mean. Well, here we go, the top over teams. Brooklyn's going over 18-7 by an average of 7.7 points per game. I understand Brooklyn's added some firepower. And again, these rankings are based on the margin they cover by. They go over or under by, is the case here. Denver goes over 17-6 by an average of 5.7 points per game. Milwaukee over 14-9 by 4.3. They're the only three teams that go over by an average of at least 4 points per game. A little bit more as far as the under is concerned. New York is going under at a 17-8 rate, minus 6.7 points per game. So in other words, they go under by 6.7. Atlanta's going under 16-7, going under by an average of 5.4 points per game. Houston also 15-7, under by an average of 4.6. Lakers under 17-8, going under by an average of 4.4. And that would be about it as far as the sharp intel is concerned and the top over under teams. But remember, please follow us on Twitter. And I know a lot of you are watching us on Periscope, so you're probably following us on Twitter. But if you're not, it's at Offshore Insider. Yeah, I really wish that Twitter would have given us one more character. It's Offshore Insider without an S, although our website is Offshore Insiders. And make sure you visit offshoreinsiders.com for the best vetted sports books and more. Offshoreinsiders.com.